Hello, in this video I'll be showing you an overview of how to enter expenses and goals into the plan. I'll enter both an expense and a goal, we'll watch the chart update, and then we'll go to year view and check everything is set up how we'd like. I'll do one expense for the whole of the plan, so that's a basic expense to cover Julia's basic living expenses, and then we'll do a luxury travel goal. This will just be for the first 10 years of retirement. So Julia would like to go on luxury cruises each year in the first 10 years of her retirement, and we'll set that up as a goal. We'll also discuss the difference between a goal and an expense in the plan. So what do we need to do? First, let's go to the timeline screen and make sure that we have our events for what we're just about to set up. The basic expense is going to be for the whole of the plan. So we don't need any new expenses for this because I'm going to use the start event here and the mortality event here. But the luxury travel for the first 10 years of retirement, we're going to use the retirement event is when it starts, because no matter where we move this in the plan, that's when Julia would like to model the luxury holidays starting. But we need one at age 75 for when the luxury holidays are ending. I can double click on the white space here or go to the plus button bottom right, an event, to add a new event. And I'm going to call this end of luxury travel. I'll give it a boat symbol, and then I have to make sure that it's at the right time. So it's Julia's, who's the owner, it's her age 75 or in year 2055. Let's click done. At the moment, these events are just placeholders. We're going to assign the expense value to them in a second. To enter the expense, start in dashboard, go to the plus button and click on expenses. The basic expenses that we're going to enter, such as for food, are for the whole of the plan. So it's a multi-year expense. A single year expense is an expense just for 1 year of the plan. So I've clicked on multi-year and I'm going to call this basic expenses. This is going to be for $54,000 a year annually. And the priority is that it's a basic expense. Anything that classed as basic will be in the blue line of the cash flow chart, and if you move the slider down to leisure luxury, these will be in the black line of the chart. Note the inflation rate. This is taken from your plan settings, but you can edit it for this particular expense here by clicking on edit, and with this inflation rate we will see each year the expenses increase. I'll show you that in a second. Note in details you can break down the expense by an itemized bill. So you could add in, say, food for $2,000, fuel $2,000, and so on. And this will add up for you automatically to give you a final basic expenses total. In this case though, I'm just going to use fixed amount and leave it at the $54,000. Now let's go down to timing. We have to check that this expense is in the plan for when we want it to be. It starts at the start of the plan and ends at mortality. That's exactly what we wanted the expense set up for the whole of the plan. Let's click done to save this. Now you can see the expense entered into the plan is increasing each year with inflation. In other words, in the first year of the plan, the basic expense need is $54,000, but by year 2 it's gone up to $55,350. There's nothing in the plan at the moment in order to meet these expenses, which is why you see the red. But once we start entering investments and pensions and savings and income, Voyant will bring these into the plan in order to meet these expenses. Let's now go to year view and we can check in the details for each year. So click on year view top right, I'm going to go to expenses. Here you can see the basic expenses of the $54,000. And you can see it increasing each year with that 2.5% inflation. Back to the dashboard now and let's enter the goal. Plus button bottom right again, but this time we're going to enter a goal. What's the difference between an expense and a goal? Well, a goal is a trackable expense. You'll see progress towards that goal in the timeline screen, and you'll also have them highlighted specifically in the reports. Goals are there to demonstrate whether the client is on track to achieve that goal and are typically used to highlight standout expenses or ones that need special planning. The expenses can be used for more regular and planned expenditure and outgoings, and they'll show up in a different section. I've now clicked on goals and I have the option of adding different types of goals. But note, if I click on a pre-retirement goal, I can move the timeline events to whenever I want. In this case, it's a retirement goal. It's something she's going to be doing in retirement, which is luxury travel. And I'm going to call it luxury travel years. For this, she's going to need $30,000 a year. And it's not a basic expense. In fact, this goal is going to be a luxury goal. In other words, it's lower down the priority order in terms of Voyant meeting that expense from the liquid assets. Let's go to timing now. The timing is actually going to be from retirement, which is right, but it'll end at the end of luxury travel. So I'll click on that event, set as end event. This is the window there that the goal will be for, and now I'm going to click done. We can now see the higher expense need in the years where the luxury travel goal is in place, and now there's the blue line separate from the black line. The blue line was those basic expenses, which in the years pre-retirement is just the same as the black line, but now we have luxury expenses to separate out from basics, which is that luxury goal, which is why you can see the blue line separate from the black. If I double click on that bar to go to year view and go to expenses, just before the retirement event, it's just the basics. Then the luxury travel years goal comes in, which has inflated in value and will continue inflating in value by that inflation rate until it ends at the end of luxury travel year as we wanted. Coming out of year view, click year view. If we want, we can now move this event in the timeline and the expenses will move with that event. So we can either go to the timeline screen or we can click on the event and click on the name. And I'm going to move it to age 80. And now you'll see the chart update and the expenses will go from stopping at age 75 to age 80. This is because the expenses are linked to this event, not to the age. So you move the event and you'll move the expenses. To recap, we checked in the timeline screen that we had the appropriate events on the timeline for adding the expenses in. You can also add new events into the timing screen within the expense entry as well by double clicking on the chart. We entered an expense and a goal and discussed the difference between the two, and we saw the blue and the black line. Blue line is basic expenses, taxes and debts, and the black line is the basics plus leisure and luxury expenses and contributions into things like savings, investments and pensions. Thanks for listening.